So in this video, I'll be explaining what limiting beliefs are and how they show up in your life, what they look like, and how limiting beliefs turn into limiting behaviors. And I'll also be showing you examples of how that might look in your life. So a series that we're doing called Mindset Mastery. Now, the purpose of this series is to address and deal with the mindset matters. So you can never go past your mindset, your beliefs, your thoughts. Your mind is literally the hub. It is the center of all the thoughts that you have, all the beliefs that you have that will keep you stuck and limited. And so therefore you can never go past your mind. So we're addressing all the limiting beliefs, all the negative things that we believe about ourselves, about others, and about the world to make us better people and to make us progress and move past this glass ceiling or the ways or moving past feeling stuck and feeling like you're never progressing. If this is something that you're interested in, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. There'll be a lot more content this month, so check that out. So what is a limiting belief? A limiting belief is a behavior, usually negative, that you think about yourself, about others, or about the world. So a limiting belief is something that you think and you've accepted as true, and you view the lens through that angle. So imagine I'm wearing sunglasses and they're dark tinted sunglasses. And now I view the world through these limiting beliefs. So for example, if I believe that I can never really achieve anything, or I can never be successful, I'm wearing these sunglasses and everything that I see is from this view or this limiting belief that I can never be successful. And that will show up in every area of my life because of these limiting beliefs. Now, again, you can't go past your mindset. And this is why, have you ever seen why some people win the lotto? For example, they'll win the lotto, they've never had a dime, not really had money to their name, never really known money like that. And 1, 2, 3, 4 years later, they've won millions, mind you. They've won a lot of money. And a couple of years later, they've spent it all, they've blown it all. They're either in debt or in prison or back to the house or state that they lived in because they didn't have the right mindset. They didn't have the right beliefs about money. They didn't have the correct mindset in order to sustain, to keep and grow that money. There's no point you getting a lot of money. A lot of people think, right, when I have money, all my problems will be gone. Granted, some problems will be there, but if you have not done the mindset to keep or sustain that thing, you will end up right back where you found yourself. So mindset matters, and we need to master our mindset. Our brain constantly receives thousands and thousands and thousands of information every single day, and we're not even conscious of it. It's just constantly taking in information, and it has to sift through this information some way. So limiting beliefs work as this. They come from our environment, our culture that we were born in, our childhood, what our parents and teachers said about us, what we saw growing up. These things shape our mindset and they shape the beliefs that we have. So for example, if you grow up seeing the people around you cheat, and you grow up believing that all men are trash, all men cheat, and that's a limiting belief. You've seen the world through this lens of men cheat. And so what will happen is the way that limiting beliefs work is your brain is constantly taking information and it can't possibly process all this information. And this all happens unconsciously, so you're not even aware of this. So what happens if you have this limiting belief that all men are trash, that all men cheat? Now, in your brain, there is something called the reticular activating system, called the RAS. And what the RAS does is it will pull the necessary information from everything that's being bombarded at you all the time that you're not even aware of. It'll pull the information that supports your beliefs. So if you believe men are trash, your brain will look for the things that support your belief. They will look for people that are trash. They will look for things that support your belief system, and you will look for it. There's a saying that if you look for something, you're going to find it. And again, if we have a negative mindset, if we believe all men are cheaters, we're going to attract, and your brain is going to look for people that are cheaters. And then when you see them, you're like, well, yeah, see, I told you, I'm just proving you, I've proved you right again. All men are trash, all men cheat, but that's not necessarily true. But because you have this belief, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to insert the iceberg here. And this is a picture of an iceberg. The top bit is your behavior, people, and you see their behavior and you see how people act and You might judge certain people based on their actions and why people do certain things. But beneath the surface of the iceberg is this whole chunk, and these are limiting beliefs. You see the behavior, but you don't know the beliefs, and you don't understand the limiting beliefs that someone has. So you can see someone who can be homeless and be poor and be an alcoholic and all of these things. You see the behavior, but underneath that behavior, there is a whole system of limiting beliefs has led that person to these limiting behaviors. And in the same way, there are many things that we have that limit us, many beliefs, many mindsets that are constantly limiting us. Your beliefs show through your behavior. For example, someone who never stands up for themselves and lets people walk all over them, if you look and dig deep, you will see that person believes that they have no power and they're powerless. Maybe something happened when they were young, or something happened somewhere along the lines, and they believe that they are powerless. And as a result, that behavior showed up as them believing that I don't have any power, I can't control this situation. So they'll constantly let people walk all over them and constantly let people treat them anyhow. They can be in terrible relationships, be in terrible friendships, but genuinely feel like they don't have the power to change or the power to change that situation. They genuinely feel powerless. And that stems from the limiting belief that I have no power. Someone who's really risk averse, who will never put themselves out there, who will never try and do anything, if you look beneath the surface, now their limiting belief might be everything has to be perfect, and if it's not perfect, I'm not going to do it. So therefore they're constantly looking for perfect situations to move. If it's not perfect, they're not going to make the move. It's not perfect, and if it doesn't look great, they're not going to move. Behind every behavior, there are a set of beliefs that are beneath the surface, and actually we need to stop looking at the behavior, and we're trying to change the behavior without trying to change the limiting belief. It's not possible to change behavior without addressing the limiting belief. And this is why I believe this Mindset Mastery series is really important. People are trying to stop smoking, trying to stop doing all of these things, but without addressing the stuff these are rooted things that have been rooted, that they have believed for years. And an example is this. Now, let's say Erica wants to buy a house. Now, Erica's brothers live in rented property. Her family has always lived in rented property. Her parents have always rented. Everyone around her has rented, and no one has ever bought a property. Now, whether Erica realizes or not, that has shaped or formed a limiting belief that it's not possible for people like me to buy a house or to get out of this rented situation. Now, even though Erica might have the financial ability or may have a good credit score or actually have the means to buy a house, that limiting belief will hold Erica back if she doesn't address it, if she doesn't do anything about it. So even if she has the capacity and the ability to do, Erica might never buy a house. She might always live in rented property because that's what she knows, and that's the behavior that she saw other people doing, and she's going to mimic that behavior because she's not addressed the limiting belief of, I can buy a house. People like me can buy houses. Now, limiting beliefs show up in every area and show up in every aspect of your life. Again, imagine someone is in their 20s or maybe 30s and they want to find love and they want to get married one day, but actually has a limiting belief that I'm unlovable. No one could possibly love me. Maybe something happened in their life and things took place. And deep down, and the thing about limiting beliefs is this, they happen unconsciously. You don't purposely say, I'm going to say this is my limiting belief. This is based on stuff that's happened in the environment, things that you've thought, things that people have said, the situations that have happened. And these things are formed unconsciously or subconsciously. This person maybe wants to find love, but deep down inside of them, they believe that they're unlovable. No one can possibly love me. And so because of the rise that we talked about earlier, because of this limiting belief, they will constantly find things that supports that claim that no one loves me. So they might go somewhere and someone might not greet them. And they think, yep, see, I told you no one loves me. This person didn't greet me, or people exclude me from activities, or no one calls me, or no one loves me. And the more that we do it, the more that behavior or that belief is solidified. And then you have 10, 15, 20 years worth of things that were supporting your argument that no one loves me. So when someone does come and try and love upon this person, their initial reaction is that this can't be true. This can't be for me because I'm unlovable. No one will love me. And when that person comes, that they might reject that because you're the mind trained to protect us. The mind is trained to protect us and to keep us safe. So anything that's contrary to our beliefs, we tend to reject. And that's why when you have an argument or you have a debate with someone, you will stand firm on your claim, on your argument. Even if what that person is saying is right, you will still feel that you are justified and you will still stand firm on your beliefs. And the mind is aimed to protect us. So anything that doesn't go against the belief of, in this person's case, I'm unlovable, and someone comes and says, I love you, they're like, no, and that person will feel like they're in danger, or like it's not true, or it can't be true, or it's false, or this isn't going to last. And because they believe that, your brain will start thinking, and your brain will start looking for supporting evidence. This isn't going to last. This isn't going to last. I'm unlovable. This isn't going to last. And for sure, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That relationship won't last. And when it does, it then again solidifies, I told you, nobody loves me, nobody wants me. And this is the power of limiting beliefs. Now, as I'm saying this, I want you to think of some of the things that you've said about yourself. What have you said? What are the limiting beliefs that have kept you back? And I remember having a coaching session. This is probably like one of my first 10 coaching sessions. This is why I became a coach, because there is so much stuff that is beneath the surface, and like coaching really, like, it's so transformational and it's so life-changing. And I decided I'm going to be a coach. And I speak to people all the time and speak to people who have different limiting beliefs. And I remember the first coaching session, which was talked about limiting beliefs. And my coach at the time, I can't remember what we're talking about, but there was something that was holding me back. She said, what's holding you back right now? I don't know. And I sat and I began to think. And immediately I was like, I don't think I'm good enough, is what I said. I was like, I don't think I'm good enough. And she said, okay, talk to me about that. Where did that come from? And as soon as I said, I don't believe that I'm good enough. And this was a while back, like this was many years ago. And I said, I don't believe I'm good enough. And she's like, where did that come from? And as soon as she said that, I saw a picture in my mind, a picture of when I came from Zimbabwe back in the 90s. I came from Zimbabwe, and at that time, there weren't many people that looked like me. When I say when they looked like me, I was black, and I was coming from an environment where everybody around me was black. And I came into this country and I was the minority. I looked different, I talked different, and everything about me was different. So I go to school and I can see very clearly I'm different. And the people in school would be so curious, like their children, like I was like 4 or whatever back in the 90s, and they would like, why is your skin this color? Why is your nose like this? And why are your lips big? And why is your hair like this? Why is your hair different? And in my mind, and I was like 4 or 5 or however old I was, that shaped something in me. And I genuinely thought, and I lived with it without even realizing, I felt inferior to other people. So when certain people were in the room, I would immediately take a step back because I felt inferior. And I don't think I've actually ever had this conversation outside of my coaching sessions. Yeah. And for a very long time. Now imagine this is more than 25 years ago. Or actually, no, at the time, it was like more than 20 years ago. There was 20 years worth of limiting belief that I am inferior to a certain type of people, or I'm inferior to a certain group. So in certain rooms, I would retreat, or in certain rooms, I would keep quiet because if I'm not seen, then no one will ask me any questions, right? And this was so subconscious, and I never even realized that this was a thing. And when I had that coaching session, I was like, whoa, I didn't even realize. And this had followed me onto adulthood, and it had followed me into my day-to-day life, how I conducted myself, how I showed up, how this limiting belief of I'm inferior, I'm not good enough compared to X, or I'm not good enough compared to the Y, was constantly there. And because the limiting belief was there from childhood, I had years worth of supporting evidence. And my mum watches my YouTube videos, and I know she's gonna watch this. And I remember being like 6, And it's like a silly example, but I remember it 25 years later. I was like 6 or something, and everyone in school would get milk cartons. You get free milk. And one teacher in particular that day didn't give me milk. So I went home and I was crying to him. I was like, the teacher didn't give me milk. Immediately, I thought the teacher didn't give me milk because, of the color of my skin. And I still remember that. And like my mom laughs about it. I laugh about it with my mom now because once in a while I'm like, that teacher didn't give me milk. Actually, like there could have been a reason, a whole host of reasons why that teacher didn't give me milk that day. Like there could be any reason. But in my mind, because I already had this limiting belief, that was something else that supported that limiting belief of I'm not good enough or I'm inferior. So good things, I don't deserve good things. I don't deserve nice things. I don't deserve, to be a manager or to be a leader or to be certain things. And that's just one example of how limiting beliefs can really shape your life, how they can show up in your behaviors. What I want you to do is I want you to think of, and you can write this down, I want you to think of some of the things that have been holding you back. What are the behaviors? Start with your behavior. What are the behaviors that you've seen or that you can see in your life? And where did that come from? Where did that stem from? What are the limiting beliefs that you've told yourself? What are the thoughts that you think towards yourself that aren't serving you, that aren't helping you grow and develop as a person? Write those down. What are the beliefs? What do you believe about yourself? Do you believe that you can make it in life? Do you believe that people love you? Do you believe that you can be successful? Do you believe that you can be wealthy? Do you believe that you can get married? Whatever it is, I want you to think, what are the things that are holding me back? It could be anything from how you view the world, how you see yourself, like what you say about yourself. What are the words, what are the things that you think about yourself? Do you think you're fat, that you're unachievable, unlovable? Or do you think that you're beautiful? Whatever beliefs, whether good or bad, write them down because we want to reaffirm the good things that you have. So it's not necessarily just looking at all the bad stuff. If you have great beliefs, if you feel confident, you know that you're beautiful, write that down and reaffirm that. But what we want to do is address the limiting beliefs, change the mindset, change the beliefs, and reprogram the mind so that we're not feeling stuck with those limiting beliefs. What are the beliefs that aren't serving me, but I've had these things for years, for months, for decades? Write it down. Because the first thing is, you can't change what you're not aware of. You cannot change or address the things that you don't know. And that coaching session for me always marked a shift or a pivot because I became aware of that. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, I'm going to be doing more content on the Mindset Mastery series. So be sure to share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell because next time we're talking about, okay, fine. Now I know what the limiting beliefs are. What do I do with it? How do I change this cycle? How do I stop feeling like this? How do I stop speaking negative about myself and constantly being pessimistic and constantly thinking really negatively? Watch out for the next video. See you in my next video.